The radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. Good afternoon. It's about 11 past 1 on Tuesday, March 6th, 2018. This is Monsoon Mike, and it seems that whenever you hear me live early afternoon like this, you got to have some bad weather coming in the next 24 hours. And that seems to be the little tradition for myself and our on-campus geography professor and on-campus meteorologist, Dr. Michael Davis, who joins me live. Good afternoon, Dr. Davis.
Good afternoon, Monsoon Mike.
How are you?
Bracing for the storm.
Okay. Yeah.
You always have me on when there's some type of big storm approaching.
One day I'm just going to bring you on, put you on in the afternoon, like at 1 o'clock, and just to tell us that it's going to be 7 days of sunshine. I'm just going to do that just to make you feel like you're not just needed for bad weather.
That sounds good.
Okay. I promise. When we get into summer, we'll do that. But yeah, we definitely have some interesting weather coming up. We recorded a podcast yesterday, the 5th around this time. And today it's the 6th, about 24 hours later. If you were to look out the window now, when we're recording this, you wouldn't even really know that anything too big is coming except for the high clouds starting to move in a little bit. It's nice. It's 40-some degrees. It's partial sunshine. But 24 hours from now, it's going to be a different story.
Yeah, we have, looks to be some, looking out the window right now from what I can tell, some alto cumulus, I would probably say at this point.
Yeah, alto stratus, alto cumulus.
Alto stratus. So we have been seeing a lowering in the cloud deck, which typically means that low pressure is moving in. This is likely from the low that is over the Great Lakes, not so much the actual low from the south, which is what's going to give us our precip over the next 24 hours.
Correct.
And the main player is still in its developing stages down to our south at this point.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point, Dr. Davis, is that this storm is actually going to be, it's like two parts that are kind of, coming together. Right now at, let's see, it's about 1 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. It looks like a low-pressure system is over Iowa at this point. And then there's some precipitation with a trough of some sort down south,
Georgia, Carolina,
Georgia, Alabama, that area. And then we're nice right here under, departing high pressure. But you scan the GFS model ahead, and then by tonight around 7 o'clock, that low pressure is over Indiana. And then around 1 o'clock in the morning, it's pretty much over your old home state, home neck of the woods, northern Ohio. And then by 7 a.m. tomorrow, that low pressure kind of goes away, and we focus on the forming low pressure off of Virginia at that point.
And that's because of the low pressure hitting what's known as a baroclinic zone or a change in temperature. So essentially, all that lifting is going to be done through dynamic lifting or changes in temperature. And with it strengthening due to the differential temperature between the land and the water, that's what's going to cause the coastal low to intensify at the expense of the Great Lakes low, because that's going to be the weaker of the two. So its energy is pretty much going to get absorbed by that low pressure. And that's what's going to help bring down some colder air from the north, too, which is going to lead to our snow. Right.
And I've had some people say to me, Monsoon Mike, it's kind of hard to believe that we're talking snow when we have 40-some degrees today, and that is true. And actually, there really haven't been a whole lot of changes since you and I talked yesterday, but I guess you could say that one modification, you could say a little bit, is that some of the models have trended a little further west, the GFS being the most far west with the low pressure, and the further west that the low was to go, that would imply that we would get some mixing and maybe even some rain.
Yeah, because that would be bringing in the warmer air from the Atlantic Ocean. So in most of your precip, instead of transitioning to snow, might have more rain mixed in with it, or more of a kind of a grab bag of precipitation with rain, snow, maybe some ice mixed in there.
Yeah, if you were to take the GFS verbatim, and you and I are not necessarily sure if we want to buy into that yet, areas down toward Philadelphia wouldn't have much snow out of this at all. It could primarily be almost a mainly rain event down there. But you only go 30 miles to the west up in our neck of the woods, 30, 40, 50 miles, and you get into more of this all-snow event.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that has to be considered, too, is the warmth that we're experiencing today. We're going to be getting up to the low 30s, low 40s, mid 40s. So that would be indicating the atmosphere is gaining a little bit more in the way of energy. So I think that's going to limit some of the snowfall potential. And last night, the models were calling for roughly about 12 inches for Kutztown, and now they're about 10 inches roughly. So we have seen that start to eat away at some of the snowfall totals.
Yeah, and down toward Philly, if you were to take the GFS verbatim, only an inch or two.
Compared to the 5 or 6 that it was last night.
Right. Now, keep in mind, though, that is just one model. The NAM,
Yes.
the North American model, does not agree. The Canadian model kind of agrees with it a little bit. It does take the low pressure over extreme South Jersey, but keeps the area mainly in all snow. What do you? I mean, and part of the Euro is we haven't come out with a new Euro in a while. We're expecting one around 2:00 this afternoon, so we'll see what camp it's in. But this is where we got to put modelology aside and go for like true forecasting. What do you, as a trained weather meteorologist professional, what out of those four would you agree is perhaps the favored solution? The off coast, or do you buy into that GFS's onshore ride?
I've always really sided with the GFS for my forecasting.
Okay.
I don't know if I really buy into how far west, I'm sorry, that's going. Because the jet stream is not really directing it that way.
Right.
If you look at the jet stream, it kind of has it going further out to sea. So that would indicate maybe more of the NAM model solution or the Canadian or the European, which has it really further out to sea based on the 2 a.m. run early this morning. I would probably say that it's not out of the realm of possibilities for the low to go inland.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I think, if we have a lot more of the colder air coming down from the north, because then that's going to help sharpen the trough.
Yeah.
And that should be enough to maybe bring the low onshore. But you and I are looking at the jet stream right now, and it looks more like it flattens out.
Yeah.
Which would be indicating that it's going to be brought out to sea rather than over New Jersey.
Right. And let's also, and I want to get your opinion on this, Dr. Davis, as well, too. Last week, some areas to our south, like toward Philly, were actually a little surprised by that Friday storm because it started as rain. And it was expected to change back to snow from north to south, but kind of cut off around this area. It instead changed over to snow even as far south as, I think, northern Delaware. Dynamic cooling, I think, was involved with that. Do you see anything like that happening here?
Not really.
Okay, because this is a slightly different animal.
Yeah, because you're bringing more of a warmer influx from the ocean from the south, so I don't really see somewhat of a shift, essentially, from snow to rain to some snow again.
Okay.
I would probably have to go with the side of thinking that further south it's going to be more rain.
Okay. So let's go back to timing-wise, and then we'll get into our final thoughts on accumulation and stuff. So you were saying you like I agree with you, generally the GFS model. But we don't necessarily agree with the inland track right away. But timing-wise, it has it coming in maybe some light rain/snow tonight around 7, 8. That first batch of snow, and that's more almost from that low pressure system coming from the Midwest. That first batch of snow doesn't look all that impressive. So the storm, it might be scattered, might even turn off at some point. People might be, well, what's with this storm? This is nothing bad so far. At that point, remember that the main low-pressure system off Virginia won't have really taken over yet. So
we're not going to see the Virginia low take over till early morning hours.
Okay, so the GFS actually has some decent snow falling around 1 a.m., even though that Virginia low hasn't taken over yet. But I'm leaning more on the lighter accumulations at that point. Even around 7 a.m. tomorrow, now the Virginia low, and now it's over kind of Delmarva area. That's starting to take over, but even then it doesn't really look like heavy snow at that point. Could even be some rain mixing in at that point.
I personally think that the snow is going to start around 8 a.m.
Okay.
Like the appreciable snow falls.
The real snow, yeah. So 7, GFS would agree with you. Then if you scan ahead 6 hours, okay, so then around 1 o'clock, that's when it looks like we could be, having some good snow falling at that point. The GFS is a little, like I said, because it's a little further west, it's shifted the core of heavier snow a little further west over like Schuylkill County, maybe Harrisburg area. But again, that depends on the track, and if we buy into that more western solution. And then still snowing tomorrow night at around Wednesday night at around 7 p.m.
Could you back up one more image there? If you look just in front of that main batch of blue with the heavy snows that's around Harrisburg, School County, as mentioned, it looks like there's a little bit of a ridge developing there.
Okay, yeah, I see that. I see it,
So that would tell me that there could be some type of frontal boundary setup or a convergence zone.
Okay.
So right around that axis, I would be looking for some heavy snows.
Okay.
So maybe just to the east of that, which would put it probably like Schuylkill, Carbon, Berks, maybe western Lehigh County.
Yeah, actually, the GFS, if you take this 12 o'clock model verbatim, the GFS puts a bullseye right over Monsoon Mike Weather headquarters. So,
well, it looks like you're going to get
we'll see if that happens.
Brunt of it.
We'll see if that happens, though. And that's the other thing we should mention as well, too. Well, let's one thing at a time. Let's finish up the timing first. Timing is still snowing around 7 tomorrow night, and then it looks like it wraps up sometime between 7 and 1 a.m., so I'm thinking maybe 8, 9. So pretty much like a 12-hour storm, like an 8 to 8 sort of thing.
Yeah, and the problem, though, is that snow is going to be coming down at a pretty hefty clip during that 12-hour window.
Right. So, yeah, so that's the other thing that we need to talk about as well, too, is the consistency of this snow. This is not going to be a nice, fluffy, powdery type snow. This is going to be a heavy, wet, sloppy, gunky type snow.
Yeah, there's a lot of moisture with this, so
Right.
we're going to be looking more at the heavy, wet type snow.
And unfortunately, that kind of snow is the type that easily sticks to trees, power lines, and as we saw this past week, without even having the snow in this area, trees and power lines down. Could that be an issue with this storm?
We'll see. I wouldn't completely rule it out, although I would have to also think that most of that's been kind of taken care of by last weekend's storm.
Right. The other factor we have to mention about this storm as well is winds. Winds don't look quite as bad as last week, fortunately.
No, not at all.
Not at, I would say about half what they were last week. But I have seen some forecasts from the Weather Service, 20, 30 miles an hour. I think the biggest gust we'll probably see is 30 around here. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would go higher than 35.
No higher than 35?
No higher than 35.
Okay. So that's good news, at least. And then storm gets out of here tomorrow night, and a couple days of quiet. Maybe some snow showers Saturday. We won't worry about that till the time comes. Looks like the temperatures stay a little on the cool side. So behind this storm, no quick warm-up, and we stay a little on the cool side for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
So no early meteorological spring this year.
No, not really. Let's wait till astronomical spring.
So driving-wise, again, you and I are not in the business of making decisions on what businesses, schools, churches, whatever do, but would you say that conditions tomorrow will be unfavorable?
I don't know if they'd be unfavorable at the start of the day, but I think as the morning commute gets rolling on, I think we're going to be getting some deteriorating conditions.
Okay. Because it's so warm and the ground's kind of warm today and we have that little bit of mixing, could it take a little while before we see it sticking on blacktop?
Yeah, I think it might take several hours to at least get going compared to, say, yesterday.
Right.
And that's why we've been seeing kind of a downward trend in the snowfall totals. I think it's because of this warmth that we've been having today. Okay.
So if you had to break tomorrow down into halves, probably the second half of the day being trickier than the first half of the day?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay, for sure. And then evening commute probably an issue tomorrow. And then, again, the nice thing about this time of year is the sun angle, so things are easier to clean up. Things don't last as long as they did back in January or February, so that's good.
If this is happening in January or February, the snow will be lingering much longer.
Right. Now, you have to go soon, Dr. Davis, as do I, so let's just remind our listeners where they can get up to the fly. Of course, you and I are both busy men. We're as much as we love weather, we can't always do it full time, so make sure you pay attention to the folks at the National Weather Service. That's what they're there for.
And we are under a winter storm warning at this point.
Right, so listen to them, pay attention to them as much as possible. They are there 24 hours a day. we do a semi-decent job for fun on the side, and my page is Monsoon Mike's Weather Headquarters on Facebook, and yours is?
Dr. Michael Davis, WX. I just shared it with all my students, and I've had several new likes today.
Good. Awesome. Very good. So we'll be posting hopefully tomorrow throughout the storm, keeping you updated. And reconvening again next week. Of course, the real weather geeks out there are already talking about the GFS hinting at something early next week. We won't even touch that till the storm is done.
And that's during spring break, too.
And that's during spring break, and, the university probably doesn't really care as much at that point because at least they don't have to worry about students at that point. So,
are we going to be able to record spring break?
What's that?
Are we going to be able to record during spring break?
I will be around. So
so will I.
Yeah. So if there isn't a storm of some sort next week, we'll be around and
dissect it for us.
That would be kind of ironic that spring break would have bad weather, but we'll see about that. And keep in mind, this is an early Easter this year too. So some people have asked me, are we finally going to get into a nicer pattern by Easter? Hopefully, we'll see. We'll see.
I've been telling my students the proverb marches in like a lion, out like a lamb.
Right.
We had the big storm.
So this is the lion.
And the lion.
Right.
So hopefully by the end of the month we'll have our lamb.
Yeah, Easter is April 1st. So Easter Eve would be the last day of March. So hopefully we go into Easter like a lamb. We'll see.
I hope so.
All right, Dr. Davis, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, follow us on Facebook, Dr. Davis Weather Forecast, and Monsoon Mike Weather Headquarters. Did I have your name right? Dr. Davis Weather, WX? Is that how you have it right?
Dr. Michael Davis, WX.
Dr. Michael Davis,
for
WX.
Weather Forecast.
Weather Forecast. All right. All right, we'll see you again next time, Dr. Davis. You have a good afternoon.
Same to you.